Allah, very quickly, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, it would be good. We all get to know one another. Even some of you, I know you, but maybe you don't know each other. We're not a very big class. I think it would be nice to somehow get acquainted with everybody. I'll introduce myself first of all, in case you don't know me. My name is Muhammad Mehdi Qasim Ali. I'm from Canada. More recently, I was in Toronto, but then I've also been studying, Alhamdulillah, for many years in the Hawza of Qom. Brother Jawad, if you don't mind, very quickly, if you could tell us where you're from, your name. I
Sure,
said your name.
sure. Jawad Kanani, based out of Montreal, Canada. Born and raised here and looking for opportunities to learn and increase our knowledge, especially the Islamic one. So, ahsantum shaykhna.
Ahsan, Jazakumullah. Brother Masood, if you could also go next.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Brother Masood Hussein and ex-Montrealer, current Torontonian, and very happy to be here and nice to meet all of you. I'll go next to me is Brother Ali Zahid.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ali Zahid. I am from Toronto, Canada.
Awesome, mashallah. And you have a brother here in the class as well, right? You go next, Muhammad Hadi.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Muhammad Hadi, the twin of Ali Zahid. And I'm looking forward to this class and always looking to continue to learn outside of regular school. So this is I'm looking forward to this course.
Ahsant. What grade are you guys going into? You're in high school, right? Ali Zaid
We're
Muhammad Hadi?
currently in grade 11.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Muhammad Ali, can you go next for us?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. I'm Muhammad Ali. I live in Vancouver. I'm in my third year of university.
MashaAllah. What are you studying in university?
Kinesiology.
Kinesiology. Nice, nice. Brother Maher, so can you go next?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maher. I'm also in Vancouver and I'm also in grade 11 actually in high school. And it's nice to meet you all. I'm excited to take part in this course.
MashaAllah. Brother Akil Nasir, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Sheikh. So I know some of you. So I'm from Toronto. I'm back in school these days, but I'm very excited to go through the content in this course.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Sister Alia, if you're able to, could you also share something about yourself, introduce yourself to us?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Alia Jabin. I am basically from India, but I'm located in Ohio.
Okay, mashallah. Very nice to have you here. How did you find out about the class?
I have been following Ali Outreach for a while now, maybe 10 years. I have attended their webinars in the past, but then lately I got busy. I am
Okay,
signed up to your newsletters, the Quranic Reflections. I
mashallah.
found out about this session in the Quranic Reflections email a couple of weeks back.
Mashallah, mashallah. Very warm welcome to you, Sister Alia.
Thank
Sister
you.
Sukina Jaffer.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, and all the participants. My name is Sukaina Jaffer. I'm from Vancouver. I've lived here for many years, and I know Sheikh when he was just a young boy. So this actually is an honor for me to learn from someone I saw growing up.
Inshallah, we all benefit from one another. Sister Zainab, if you could go next, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm
Alaikum
in Toronto and I'm actually Muhammad Ali's sister.
No way. Okay, okay. Mashallah. Nice, nice. You guys have another sister as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. She lives in UK.
Okay, okay. Mashallah. Sister Huda.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
I'm Huda. I'm from Windsor, but live currently in Chatham, which is a rural small town between the city of London, Ontario, and city of Windsor, Ontario. I actually stumbled upon this course through the newsletter that I'm subscribed to from Al Mahdi Islamic Center at London, Ontario. So
Great.
I thought, I never heard of the ALI, and so I found this very interesting. So very looking forward to the opportunity. A trained engineer, work at the municipality, and I'm a mother of two girls, which are too late to go to sleep now. So my apologies for not turning the camera on. Thank you.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, sisters, if you are able to, no pressure, but if you are able to, it would be nice even if sisters can turn their cameras on and inshallah we can all see one another. Brother Natani, if you don't mind, Bismillah, you could introduce yourself. We can't hear you, but then the mic is not, the mic is still muted.
My apologies. Salamun alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Abdul Hussein Nathani from Minneapolis.
MashaAllah.
Our Salah time is just 5 minutes before 8, so that's the reason I couldn't join in early. My apologies. Hopefully by next week it will be much better. Yeah, I was very interested when I read about this, especially my concern is how do we help acquire knowledge in the correct way, because there is so much information out there, and anything we can do to help process your thinking so that it goes in the right way, because knowledge is very important. But the other part that attracted me is also that this also goes with a spiritual dimension of it. So that's the reason I'm interested.
Inshallah, ahsant. I hope inshallah it is beneficial for you. Brother Zain Zaidi. Just three people left, inshallah. We'll quickly introduce ourselves and then we can get started.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Zain. I live in Milton, Ontario. And this course has to suffice while we miss Sheikh Mahdi at the Lady Fatma Center. My wife is joining me in the course. And of course, the idea is to, recently all the scholars emphasize that find a teacher to improve yourself, to improve your knowledge. And this is, one way to do so. Thank you.
I apologize. I'm in Iran right now. The internet that I was using somehow dropped. I had to switch to my Wi-Fi. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I hope inshallah this is gonna be Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Can you guys hear me okay now? Am I back in? Okay. Inshallah, we'll pray that it stays. Sorry about that. My internet dropped. I switched to another internet. Last I was just before I got cut, I was asking Brother Zain to introduce himself. So Brother Zain, I don't know if you were able to or what happened when I left.
I'm happy to do it again. I'm Zain from Milton, Ontario, and I'm
Yes.
really excited to be part of this course.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Great. I think we have a couple of people who didn't yet introduce themselves. Brother Hussein, Sister Zahra, Sister Fatima. If there's anybody else, please, Bismillah, why don't you introduce yourselves and then we can get started, inshallah.
This is Saint Ali Patel from Toronto. I heard about this course through one of the message on one of the WhatsApp groups through Sheikh. Yeah, just really excited to learn about this course. About how we acquire knowledge and the correct way to acquire knowledge and these sources. Yeah, and that's all from my side. Thanks.
Awesome. Welcome, Brother Hussein. Sister
Thank
Fatima.
you.
Sister Fatima, are you there? Maybe Sister Fatima is unavailable. Sister Zahra? Okay, inshallah, if Sister Fatima and Sister Zahra are later able to, then they can just say something, introduce themselves, no problem. Oh, Sister Fatima, we see you messaged in the chat that okay, you're from Toronto. Inshallah. Okay, in any case, let's get started right now. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So a couple of things, kind of housekeeping things about the class. There's no real requirements in terms of background or age. As you can see, mashallah, we have different age levels here and different, backgrounds in terms of education or profession or, different situations. Inshallah, all that is going to be okay. The content, as you will see in this today's lesson, we will give a little bit of a background of what we are going to be discussing in this course. What exactly is epistemology? Inshallah. It's not going to be too technical or, too difficult, inshallah, but at the same time, it will be a little bit, okay? It's a little bit dry, technical. At sometimes you'll see that epistemology is necessary as a prerequisite, as a set of tools with which we can later build our belief structure. So to a certain extent, you do need to somehow bear with the technical discussion. What is knowledge? What are the different types of knowledge? Inshallah, I'm going to try my best to make it engaging, interesting. Um, One of the expectations that I did put in the email as well is please do try to attend the class. That is the very minimum that we can expect, that you do attend the class properly, and there will be notes that will be given. So try to read the notes, and I will try to give questions at the end of every class. If not in the class, otherwise I'll send it as an email after the class is done, that inshallah there will be some kind of thinking questions to make sure that you engage more with the material, inshallah. It's not a big time commitment. I'm guessing maximum 1 hour beyond the actual class. It shouldn't even be that much to read as well as to complete the question. The homework questions will be maximum, I'd say, 1 hour, inshallah. Okay, a little bit about before we start, I want you guys to all kind of think about this question, that why should we care about learning about the fundamentals of Islamic thought? Some people may say that as Muslims, we already are familiar with this. We've grown up in, sorry, I see a question. There was an email sent out other than the registration conference. Yes, there was an email in which I sent the notes. Inshallah, send me an email privately if you didn't get it, and inshallah, I can make sure that you are sent it later on. This is my email address, mahdi@academyofislam.com. Okay, inshallah, before we get started, just give me 1 minute. I'm going to go step aside to get my charger for my phone. My phone, I didn't realize that's now giving me data, is very low on battery. I want you to think about the following. Okay, let's say somebody were to say that we are Muslims, we already have belief, we go to the mosque. Why does it matter if I don't study religion deeply? It's not maybe some Muslims, some young people, they might be like, I have so many other things I need to worry about in life. I need to study my degree, I need to take care of my family, I need to try to, attend the Aza of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, volunteer in the masjid, take care of there's no end to responsibilities in life. What is the danger? What is the problem with not giving importance to learning about religion? I want you guys to take a minute, think about this. I'll hear from you when I come back. Just give me 1 minute to go get my charger. Inshallah, I'll be back soon. Okay. Inshallah, I hope that was enough time. Anybody want to share their thoughts? What is the problem? What is the concern with not studying religion deeply?
So I would say, Sheikh, the first thing is knowledge, in order to be beneficial, has to be dynamic. You can never say that you have enough knowledge. Knowledge, you have to keep advancing and progressing. We have plenty of hadith from our Imam that encourages us that spend as much time, try to acquire knowledge from cradle to grave. So that's my first, I would say.
Definitely. That's very good. That this is definitely a teaching of religion. Still, we can try to think about it that why is Islam telling us to seek knowledge? What is the importance of knowledge? How will it help us? There's a good point in the chat that one of the things that we are faced with is questions from other people. Yes, Sister Huda?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I think I was going to mention that question with people. My first daughter is going to Catholic school, and though I had some knowledge of Christianity and from colleagues and whatnot, I found that it was more fundamental for me now to know more about Christianity, more about how we've got the same stories, we've got pretty much the same principles as Christians, but there is a fundamental difference in the way we look at God, the way we look at the prophets, the way we look at the perception. From the surface, it looks the same, but if you dig a little bit further, it's not. And it's the process of thought. It is it's that I felt that I don't have enough deep knowledge to be able to discuss or argue points other than from someone who comes from an Islamic perspective. For somebody who comes from other than that, whether it's atheism, Judaism, whatever or not. So anyway, I find myself looking at how other religions think and I think perceive roles, responsibilities, and just the word total. And I thought that this is something that's missing. And I find that we may be too complacent, we as Muslims, especially those of us that are born Muslim in Muslim families. We might get too complacent and I have it. I do pray, I do fast, I do read Quran, and I do this and do that, but I think that we do lack that technical depth, and I think our sheikhs can do a little bit more, and we could, as I guess, if you will, as parishes, we could do a little bit more in having patience and willing to understand and learn more. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Very good points. One of the things that, inshallah, Brother Jawad, I'll come to you in a minute, but one of the things to remember is that our situation living in the West today in a non-Muslim environment, first of all, in a society, in an age where religion and religious values are very much under attack. Our situation is different from Muslims that lived 100, 200 years ago in a Muslim community. At that time, maybe the need of society was not anything more than, ahkam, tafsir, some akhlaq. That was it. People, they lived in an environment where everybody believed in God. Nobody doubted about ma'ad, the hereafter. Nobody doubted about the soul. But that's very different from the environment that we are in today. Brother Jawad, do you want to add something else?
I can add a little bit. I think what's very important is some of the fundamental of Islam are taught to us at a very young age as well, when we go to the madrasa, perhaps. And so I think that because Islam is a journey at different stages of our lives, we need to study our Islamic belief system because life throws different situations, and sometimes we can understand, not see, but rather understand, and our capacity of understanding Islam differs with time, and inshallah our capacity gets bigger. So it's important to revisit the Islamic belief system and the fundamentals so that we're up to par to our capacity and we can continue navigating, especially in the world we're living in right now.
Sant. I think like Brother Nathani was saying, it's supposed to be a lifelong journey, as you're saying also, that we go deeper and deeper. There's no end to it, and there's a constant need for it to constantly be updating ourselves, answering new questions that come to ourselves. This is actually one of the beautiful points about Islam, especially the Islam of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, that it is in line with the intellect and it is encouraging us to use our intellect, to think, to question, but then not just leave it at the question and confusion, but answer these questions for ourselves. Okay, we believe and we can, inshallah, show that our religion is founded on logic, founded on an intellectual backing. And that's exactly what, inshallah, this course and if we have the tawfiq, upcoming courses that will continue from this course will aim to do, inshallah, to go through a strong foundation of our belief. I'll just end this part with reading Brother Akil Nasir's comments in the chat. First of all, our actions in life are dependent on why we believe. Okay, so ourselves to be strong in our own belief, our actions, our worship of God will be more worthwhile if it is founded on strong belief. That's a really important point. Secondly, we need to seek answers to the questions that we have to reach success. Awesome. We can't stop learning because sometimes teachings are not always preached correct and we don't have a correct understanding. Awesome. So I think generally, mashallah, a lot of good similar responses that we want to be able to fix our own understanding and then also be able to answer the questions of other people as well. Awesome. Okay, inshallah, an overview of what we want to talk about today in the remaining time that we have. We want to first of all talk a little bit about tarbiyah in Islam. What is the goal that Islam has for us as believers? And how there is a very, very important aspect of education there. The Quran, again and again, it's inspiring us, reminding us to be pious people, but the Quran is also teaching us. It's also telling us about who Allah is, about the akhirah, about the soul. So we can see that education and this goal that we have called tarbiyah is very much connected. And then inshallah, I just want to make a few kind of points about this course as part of a larger course in Islamic beliefs and the specific Farsi book that I'm using largely to prepare for it. And then inshallah, the bulk of the time, although there won't be much time, would be for today, we want to talk about what are the principles of faith. Usul aqaid. Usul al-Din. What are these? Inshallah, we'll talk about it a little bit more and figure out that, okay, Islam teaches us many things, but some of those things we call them the usul, the fundamentals of what we believe in. So how do we identify what is fundamental and what is a belief, but it's not that important, not that fundamental? Inshallah, we want to clarify that for today. Please, at any point in time, feel free to ask questions. Okay, you can always take up the mic and interrupt me or put a message on the chat, and inshallah, I will try to keep an eye on that. Okay, one thing to remember is that Islam trains us and teaches us that we are not just a physical body. We're not just an animal. We have a soul. In fact, that is the reality of who we are. God has created us with this ability to be, as the Quran says, the Khalifa of Allah. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. When Allah created our father Adam, He said that, He told the angels that I am putting a Khalifa on the earth. That's a huge, huge status that we human beings have, that we can be the representative of Allah. We can attain a level of perfection where we are manifesting the attributes of Allah much more than other creatures can. In order to reach that goal, we need to develop and grow the way religion teaches us in different dimensions. Okay, our physical body is important. We need to take care of it. Our intellect is important. We need to stimulate it. We need to study. But from amongst these different dimensions, the main goal is the soul. Purification of the soul is what is the criteria. Somebody may be a very simple, illiterate farmer, but if they can control their anger, they can control their desire, they are worshiping Allah, they could be much better. They probably are much better than me and somebody else who studied more. The criteria is the soul, purification of the soul. That said, especially in the context of what we live in, where society we live in, social media, internet, TV, we need to solidify our faith by having it grounded in academic knowledge, a strong understanding of reality. This is another really important point that I put in the notes, inshallah. when you go look at the notes, if you haven't already, it'll be in a little bit more detail, that an Islamic worldview will really help us in this path of tarbiyah, understanding reality the way Islam teaches us, that there is one God, there is a path in life that the divine representatives God sent us have shown us this path. It is a reality. Okay, we don't believe in pluralism, that everybody has their own truth. No, there is one truth out there called Allah Ta'ala. And we have to somehow align our understanding of reality, our values, our path with that reality that we have in life. And so to solidify this faith, to give us that backing that we don't doubt, we don't shake, it's really important to go through a strong class in Islamic beliefs where we prove these things for ourselves. We prove that there is one God. We prove that there is an immaterial soul that every one of us has. We're not just a physical body. We are definitely beyond the physical. We are a soul. We have these awliya, these divine guides that God sent us to guide us. And what are the levels, amazing levels that these awliya have, that they are connected to Allah and they are perfect, they are ma'soom, they have ilm al-ghaib. All of these things are different aspects of our belief, our understanding of reality that we need to study well. And if we do that, that will inshallah protect us from some of the concerns that you guys were mentioning of being questioned by others, being in a society where the values are very different from our values, the influences are different from what we want to be influenced like. Okay, so this was an initial point. I'll end with a line of poetry from a Persian poet, and inshallah, if there's no questions, we move on. There was a poet called Baba Tahir. He's an old Persian poet, famous guy. He has these two lines of poetry, a lot of them Dubaiti, with a different kind of Persian language than what is common today at times. Anyways, he was one of the awliya of Allah. Okay, great scholars of akhlaq, spirituality. They admit that this Baba Tahir, he had attained a very high level. His poetry shows his status. In one of his lines of poetry, he says, بود قدر تو افزون از ملائک تو قدر خود نمیدونی چه حاصل. That, O human beings, O insan, your worth is more than the angels. These are teachings of Islam that these poets, they put in poetry. This is Quran, this is Hadith. Your worth is greater than that of angels, but alas, you don't even know your own worth. What can be done? If we sell ourselves short and we think that my perfection lies in having a lot of money, my perfection lies in having big muscles, okay, that's the level of perfection, but that's not the true perfection that we were created for. And so, having a study of Islamic beliefs where we go through what our purpose is, what the reality is really, really important. Okay. I'm going to pause here. If there's no questions, the next thing that I wanted to just briefly comment on is the series of books that I will, inshallah, be using to go forward with this discussion. Okay. Alhamdulillah, in Iran, a lot is being done in the Hawza, a lot is being done to somehow take these beautiful, deep teachings of Islam and present them to normal people, to youth, to university students. There's one series of books that's been really famous and successful in this regard, somehow under the organization of Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi. That one is called Tarh Vilayat. It's very famous in Iran. As opposed to that, there's another series of books that has become famous recently that I'm largely going to be using called Bi Nihayat. Okay, as we will come to, this is divided into 7 different sections of Islamic beliefs. The first is epistemology. The second is to do with the human being. What is the reality of a human being and the worlds around us? So in English, we would say anthropology and cosmology. So the idea that we have an immaterial soul, the idea that there are immaterial beings around us, proving that, really interesting points about dreams and things like that. Then there is a third section about Allah Ta'ala. That's again I'm going to make some comments about the unique aspects of this book, but that's, of course, a fundamental of Islamic beliefs, belief in one God, the attributes of Allah. Then there's a fourth section about the divine guides that Allah sends. So common things about imamah and nubuwah together, that the divine guides have to be ma'soom, understanding what that means, how they are connected to Allah, how they are infallible, and so on. Then there is a discussion about Islam specifically, about the Quran, the miraculous nature of the Quran, a little bit about the life of the Holy Prophet, a little bit of the attacks against Islam, that Islam is unfair to women. Islam has very, very violent rules. There are responses to this. Then there is a discussion specifically about Shiaism, the lives of the Imams. Again, some attacks on Shiaism, the whole idea of azadari, the whole idea of ziyarah. Very briefly, some of these things are mentioned. And then there's a final discussion on Ma'ad, the hereafter, the barzakh and qiyamat and shafa'ah and all of these kind of things. This book is a really nice book. Brother Nathani, no, the books have not been translated to English, but I am, as I am preparing for this class, I am translating it using AI, and then I'm developing notes based on the AI translation of the book. So the vast majority of what I will be giving you in the notes is taken exactly from this book. Right? Some of the unique aspects of this book, Bi Nihayat, that make it very, very special are that it is based on a very deep understanding of Islam. They've tried to, the authors of it are themselves teachers of the Hawza in the city of Mashhad, in the city of Qom, who have studied different Islamic subjects in a lot of depth, and they are trying to use the understanding of great scholars in our times. For example, Allama Tabatabai, rahmatullah alayh, and his students. People who studied both the tradition as well as the intellectual heritage of Islam, philosophy and mysticism. People who were themselves, scholars and people of spirituality themselves. Allama Tabatabai, certain students of his, like Allama Tehrani. Shortly, I will narrate a story about this Allama Tehrani and one of the people he met. Allama Tehrani and Shahid Mutahhari and other students of Allama Tabatabai, their works have largely been used to develop these books. So as a result, there is a lot of depth here that is different from other books of theology, other books of beliefs. When it comes to Tawheed, when it comes to Wilayah, there is a lot of, a different perspective that these philosophers and mystics bring to the matter that is really beautiful and really amazing. Inshallah, if we are able to continue beyond epistemology and go into some of these other discussions, inshallah, you will see what I'm saying, that it's a really beautiful, really deep discussion. Another thing is that it's a bit of a modern book. So they're talking about things like the Big Bang. They're talking about modern attacks against religion, like the status of women. As opposed to that, they have left aside ancient kalami discussions that Muslims discussed that are not that relevant anymore. In the ancient times when Sunnis were debating about the Ash'ari school of theology or the Mu'tazili school of theology, they had certain things that they used to talk about. There was something called husn wa qubh dhati, maybe, that is an action good or evil in and of itself. Different discussions like that that are not that relevant. The authors of this book have left them aside and they've tried to focus on things that are really important. And a final thing is that the authors of this book and the sources they're using, for example, Allama Tabatabai, these are people who were very, very familiar with the Quran and Hadith. And at times based on their expertise, they revisited some of the common understandings that Muslims had of certain matters. I'll just give you one example. Okay, the word Rasul. How do we normally understand the word Rasul? Can anybody help me out? What does the word Rasul mean based on normal kind of Islamic beliefs? What would we think? What does the word Rasul mean?
So Rasul means a messenger, a person who transports a message from one place to another, or from someone to another.
And so when we think of Sister Huda, when we think of the Rusul, the messengers, who are we talking about normally in an Islamic context?
those who came in with a specific message that may have differed from prior messages to prophets?
Yeah, so they're a subset of the prophets of Allah, right? Anbiya of Allah are many. They received nubuwah. From them, some of them, like you said, they came up with a new message. This is just one example of probably other examples as well in this series of books where the authors, okay, they present this, they say, fine, that's not incorrect necessarily, but going back to the hadith, we can come up with a different understanding of the word Rasul, that somebody who has attained a very high level of closeness to God, and beyond that, now they have a responsibility of guiding other people. And so in that definition, it's not limited to just people who are prophets. And they would say even the imams, for example, they had that role of going close to Allah, having that high level of connection to God, and then being tasked with that responsibility of guiding human beings. So Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, according to this definition, we can call them Rasul as well. This is just one example where the authors of this book has, at times they said, look, the Quran, the Hadith is saying one thing, and Muslim scholars of theology have kind of come up with certain terminology which is up for debate at times. If we go back to Quran and Hadith, we may come up with a different understanding than what the theologians have kind of developed. Anyways, that's not too important. My main reason of emphasizing this book is the depth that it comes with and the modern nature of it, that it's based in a deep understanding of Islam and it's looking at modern issues that the world is faced with. Okay, I'm going to pause here again. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, now we want to segue, inshallah, to the discussion of the first kind of lesson, which is going to be about the principles of beliefs. What are usul aqaid?
Sheikh, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Perhaps we appreciate very much. Of course, these books are difficult to understand. You need a guide. But I was just wondering, maybe yourself or anybody in the group can share us. Is there any AI tool available that if you wanted to read a book in a foreign language, something that you like, that you can use and at least get a gist of it? How do we do that?
If anybody else is familiar, please feel free to answer. But I'm definitely you can use AI easily to translate nowadays. So I have a scanned PDF of these books, Binihayat, the same books that you can see the image of. I gave the PDF to a friend of mine, and he used Gemini, Google's version of AI, to just somehow take all the text and then translate it into English. And to be honest, it did a good job. At times, it somehow was missing things. At times, obviously, if you're translating, there's going to be certain things that are not going to be that easily understood in another language. Either the terminology is different or the way of writing is different. But generally speaking, it did a really good job. Bismillah, if anybody else has comments to add.
Brother, you could use Notebook LM, so it's made by Google. I just don't know if it handles Farsi and Arabic, but you might want to try. I'll put the website in the chat.
Thank you.
It's probably using the same kind of technology as Gemini if it's by Google, right? So then Gemini can definitely translate really well.
So you would have to download the whole book, or you could just do page by page.
Yeah, you can give it pages, and it does summaries and all sorts of amazing things. Yeah.
Okay. Let me tell a story to you guys right now, and then inshallah we want to start now the discussion about principles of faith, and I have an activity for you to do as well. Story is about one of the great maraja, one of the great mujtahids who lived less than 100 years ago. His name was Ayatollah Jamaluddin, Sayyid Jamaluddin Gulpaygani. This is his picture. He's buried in Wadi Salam of Najaf. This say Allama Tehrani is one of the students of Allama Tabatabai. Okay, this book Bi Nihayat that I'm using has been written by a student of Allama Tehrani. Although there's a team of teachers that wrote it, but one of the main authors, his name is Wakili. Wakili is a student of Allama Tehrani. Allama Tehrani narrates this story about Ayatollah Jamaluddin Gulpaygani. After first introducing him that he was such an amazing, pious person who used to live in a lot of poverty and used to somehow, his neighbors would recount how much he would be crying at nighttime in his prayers. He was somebody who loved Sahifa Sajjadiyah. He was always reading Sahifa Sajjadiyah. After praising him, he narrates a story that once he said, I used to go, Alama Tehrani is saying, I used to go and visit Ayatollah Gulpegani, this Jamaluddin Gulpegani, regularly. Once, when he was a very old man, sick, lots of financial problems, I went to go visit him, and he was lying on his bed, and he was more than 80 years old, and he had Sahifa Sajjadiyah in front of him, somehow on his lap, on his chest, and he was crying as he was reading the du'as of Sahifa Sajjadiyah. He was in a spiritual state, talking to Allah. And as I came in his presence, he said salam to me, and he said, come, sit here. And then he told me, Allama Tehrani is saying, he told me that you know my situation, how many problems I have, financial problems, health problems. But, and so Allama Tehrani says that I told him, yeah, I know a little bit about your situation. Then he smiled and he said, with all of that, I'm still happy. And this is the quote that's there on the slide, right? He said, I'm happy, very happy. One who doesn't have irfan, meaning this connection to Allah, this love of Allah in our life, they don't have the dunya and they don't have the akhirah. So beautiful story, beautiful reminder of the true kind of happiness that we can attain if we follow the teachings of Islam. Okay? With that story, let's go back. We're going to start this discussion here with this claim. And I want you guys to think about this and give you some scenarios. That the claim is as follows: everybody in life is seeking happiness, seeking pleasure, no matter who they are. They could be a religious person praying namaz shab, Ayatollah Gulpegani. They could be a sinner who has no care for anybody, just wants to enjoy in their own pleasure. Even they are seeking happiness. Could be a teacher, could be a student, could be a young person, an old person, somebody in America, somebody in Africa. Wherever you are, everybody is seeking pleasure in their life. So now the question we need to think about is that why then are people taking such different paths in life? And can we try to tell them that, look, your path is incorrect. There is pleasure to be attained in a different way if you come along this other path. Let's think about that a little bit. Okay, I want to give you guys two different scenarios here and have you spend some time thinking about this. The first scenario is somebody who's smoking. They love to smoke, they're addicted to cigarettes, they're spending a lot of money, wasting a lot of money, ruining their health, smoking cigarettes. If you talk to them, they'll say, no, this is good, this relaxes me, this makes me happy. That's one example of how somebody is seeking happiness. The second example is somebody who has abandoned their parents. Okay, they have elderly parents. There's a picture here you can see of a father, an old man. They have elderly parents who need their help. Maybe emotionally, maybe physically, they're sick. They need the company, they need the assistance of their children. The children couldn't care less. They're like, why should I waste my life taking care of my parents? I have my own life I need to worry about. I want to enjoy. I want to live a life, a complete life, go and, spend time traveling and working and taking care of my own kids. And why should I worry about my parents? I want you guys to think about, first of all, uh, what can we tell these people? How would we try to correct their understanding? First of all, somehow, inshallah, we try to appreciate this point that I made, that everybody is seeking pleasure, happiness. Both the guy smoking and the person leaving their parents aside, they're seeking happiness in their life. But first of all, what would we try to tell them? And then, can you see a fundamental difference between the problem in the first situation? So both of these people, obviously, as Muslims, as inshallah, normal people in this class, we recognize that both of these individuals have made a mistake. They've not identified happiness, pleasure. There's something wrong in their thinking. But there's a fundamental difference in the mistaken thinking of the first person who's smoking and the mistake in the thinking of the second person. Okay, I want you guys to take a minute, think about this. And inshallah, talk to one another privately. You can even, I can make breakout rooms if anybody wants to go in the breakout room just for, less than 5 minutes, inshallah. I want to hear your thoughts about these two scenarios. So I'm leaving you guys some time. I can create breakout rooms if anybody wants to go in the breakout room. Otherwise, just privately talk to one another, think about it. And again, what are we trying to think about? We're trying to think about what would we tell these people to correct their thinking? And then what is the difference between the mistake of the first person and the mistake of the second person? Okay, inshallah. It is right now. It is 9:50 right now. Inshallah, let's come back in less than 5 minutes. Okay, so at the latest 9:55, inshallah, I will ask you to share your thoughts. In the meantime, I'll create breakout rooms. If anybody does want to go in a breakout room, Bismillah, you can feel free to go in. I'll just make like 5 breakout rooms. I'm not going to assign anybody. You can yourselves go in there if you want. But what's important is you just think about it. So I'm going to give you a few minutes, inshallah, and then we will share our thoughts with each other. And just in the interest of time, I don't want to go beyond 1 hour, so I'll give you guys 1 minute more, inshallah, and then if anybody's ready, we'll hear from a few of you at least, inshallah, what your thoughts are about this. Yes, Brother Akil, you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just thinking that there's a lot of individualism in the world today. And so people, instead of having religion or some higher purpose, happiness has become their goal. And so that leads to short-term thinking and, people in different situations, and happiness means different things to different people.
So the definition of happiness is based on an individual kind of idea of happiness. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because people are in different situations, everyone has different opportunities for happiness.
So what would we tell? First of all, you're talking about both the first and the second person, the smoker and the guy leaving their parents?
That's correct. Yeah.
What could we tell the two individuals to try to convince them that, look, this is wrong, what you're doing is incorrect?
Maybe somebody else can share.
Yeah, sure. Sister
So
Fatima has put, I'll just read what Sister Fatima wrote in the chat. Smoking has effects in this world, so we can explain using data, scientific data. Look, this is what you're doing to your lungs. This is what you're doing to your body. But the other one is to do with the akhirah. This Sister Fatima's point is getting to what a fundamental difference that there's more here, but a fundamental difference between the mistakes. The first person, we're just presenting scientific data to them. The second person, we need to talk to them in a different level altogether. Akhirah, Allah, hereafter. Brother Maher, you want to say something?
I was just thinking that maybe we could tell the first person that he's infringing on his long-term happiness because, with smoking, he's gonna feel the effects later on his body, and it's gonna be worse for him. Whereas the person abandoning his parent, we could be like, he's infringing on his own parent's happiness. So the first one is affecting his own long-term happiness, and the second one is sort of affecting someone else's happiness at the expense of his own. So maybe that's one way we could look at it.
But what if Brother Maher, as Brother Akil said, what if that kid really doesn't care about their parents? They say that, okay, you know what? Yeah, I know I'm making my parents unhappy, but I want to be happy. What do we tell them then? We need to see that this is what I'm saying. We need to approach this second person. The conversation needs to be at a different level altogether. That who is a human being? What is true happiness that we are seeking? God is the source of happiness. Following Allah, one of the things that Allah religion tells us is take care of your parents, the blessings in taking care of your parents. It has to be a whole different kind of conversation. Sister Huda?
Yeah, I appreciate that. My thought is that I'm not sure I 100% agree with the proposition
Mm-hmm.
you Sheikh put just a slide ago,
Yeah,
because
Bismillah. Go on.
happiness is not a goal in this world. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we mistake it to be a goal. Most of us do in this world, but it's not. And I would argue that satisfaction under the guide of Rabb al-Alameen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, satisfaction with what we have and how we live and what we do, and even getting the blessing of rida Allah, I think that's the ultimate goal. I may not be happy dealing with elderly parents that may be cranky or always have appointments and always in pain, and I have little kids, and I that does not necessarily make me happy, but it makes me satisfied that I've done what I had to do, and I am hopefully receiving Allah's rida. So I think, back to, I guess, what to tell, it depends on if somebody's willing to listen and they actually know what the purpose of their life. But I think happiness itself is not necessarily manifested in quitting smoking, because that person might actually feel happy smoking. But if
Mm-hmm.
it might be unhappiness for him to
Yeah.
go through withdrawal. So, but
Yeah.
there's a bigger reason, I think, than just being
Yeah,
happy.
yeah.
That's my thought.
Thank you, Sister Huda. There's other people who have made good points in the chat. Please do take a look at it. Just in the interest of time, I want to wrap this up with the following points that my claim here, again, we can talk about it more next week. If you don't agree, let's talk about it more. My claim is that everybody is seeking happiness. This is the claim of the book that I'm using. And even Islam didn't come with this, belief and this statement that, oh, you have to go through difficulty for the sake of difficulty. No. In fact, Islam, prophets of Allah, they wanted to wake people up and show them that true happiness is with God. True happiness comes from tolerating the difficulties of the dunya and obeying Allah and, Sharia, taqwa. That's what gives us true happiness. There are spiritual pleasures that are way beyond the physical world. The pain and the pleasures of the other world, for Jannah and Jahannam, for example, is way, way, way more than this world. So it's worth it that we go through the difficulty. Everybody has to go through difficulty in this world. It's worth it that we go through that difficulty in a way that we will get pleasure in the other world. In one of the munajat of Imam Sajjad, alayhi salam, he says, Ilahi man dha alladhi dhaqa halawata mahabbatik farama minka badala. O Allah, O my God, who is there who has tasted the sweetness of your love and then wanted anything else after you? Okay, that was one point. The second point, using this example, I wanted to make a very important point that there are two ways that people can have the wrong beliefs. One, at one time, it's like a very small, particular matter, scientific data about smoking. Okay, that's a big deal, but it doesn't encompass all of your life. Another time, there are fundamentals of our worldview, of our outlook that, who is a human being? What is my purpose? What is my goal? Is there a God? Is there an immaterial world? These are really, really important. This one belief will change everything in our life if we accept it or don't accept it. And so those kind of things that are, really important and will change everything in our life, that's what we are calling usul ad-din. Religion tells us many things. Some things are not usul ad-din. Okay, the belief that there is, I don't know, seven heavens. That's something the Quran tells us. Belief in angels, belief in, I don't know, other such things. That's not gonna be called usul ad-din. It's something in Islam, but it's not one of the usul. Usul are these fundamental things: belief in God, belief in the divine guides, belief in the hereafter. This is something that would shape our entire life. And so that's what, inshallah, in this course we wanna somehow slowly go through. We're going to start with epistemology. I didn't get a chance today to talk about what is epistemology and why do we need to start with epistemology. Inshallah, that will be the next week's session. I know we started a few minutes late, but I still wanted to end on time, so I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes if anybody has any questions or comments, but just to somehow respect your time and busy schedules, let's end it now, inshallah. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. I will send an email, inshallah. Like I said, I do want to have some kind of homework questions for every class where, you take away something to ponder upon, something to write out in response to a question. Inshallah. So keep an eye on your emails. I will send an email today or tomorrow, inshallah. With that, inshallah, if anybody has any questions or comments, bismillah. Otherwise, we are officially done now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Jazakumullah khairan.
No problem. No problem.
Sheikh, it'll be really good to see if we can have maybe recording of the session just to go through it one more time, if it's
Inshallah.
possible. Thank you.
Inshallah. I hope it was recorded. Yeah. It should be recorded. It got cut at one time, otherwise it was recording. Inshallah, it should be fine.
Okay, thanks.
Sheikh Mahdi, if I may ask, maybe in the next session, if you could elaborate on this happiness aspect a little more, because to me, it does feel like maybe what we're seeking right now is that kind of inner peace, satisfaction rather than happiness. So what does it mean in Islam when we say that the ultimate aim is to get happiness? Like what timescales are we talking about? Are we talking about then in a society when we get to that level, then everyone achieves that level of happiness where poverty is eliminated, and then eventually there's Jannah, and how that can be translated into the shorter time frame of, for example, our own lifespans.
So just some comments that come to my mind that definitely Islam is giving us a path in life to get happiness in this dunya as well. Like you mentioned, if everybody had piety, then society would be a very happy, very, like fair, just, nice society to live in. Families, if the husband and wife both had taqwa, they would have a very loving, strong relationship. But that's not going to always happen. Human beings have free will. Some people are going to do bad things. What's more important is to worry about our connection with Allah. And even there, Islam, religion is somehow, you know, attracting other people to religion by saying, look, this is also happiness. This is true happiness, in fact. This is what will give you, like tranquility, peace, connection to God. This is a reality. One day you will realize that there was this effect to all of your deeds. You were earning something in the hereafter for yourself. So, it's not separate from happiness either. It's just like a higher understanding of happiness.
Understood. Like if in today's day and age, if you think about it, there's a bit of a diffusion of responsibility where, or it always has been, where some segment of society has stood up to do the right thing, and you could go back to, for example, the war between Iran and Baathis. Like there was a segment of society that stood up and went through all the troubles. Or in today's day and age, where there's a segment of society that goes through the effort of learning knowledge and then spreading it, while the rest of society goes on living disconnected from that. So I was kind of thinking of it from that perspective. So, what does it mean to seek happiness in that regard?
So we can say that those people who are taking up more difficulty, doing more of their responsibility, they are, by serving Allah, by doing their responsibility, they're attaining that higher happiness and that akhirat for themselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much.
No problem. No problem. Okay, guys. Anybody else have any other questions, comments? Otherwise, inshallah, we can leave it at that. Okay then, inshallah. Take care, everybody. We'll be in touch. في أمان الله.
في أمان الله.
كيف يعلم تحبس.